My parents called off my medical school graduation celebration because my sister wanted to attend Lollapalooza. So I forged my own path. My name is Sarah, and I need to share a story that transformed my life forever. It all unfolded on what should have been the pinnacle of my 22 years, the day I was accepted into Harvard Medical School. Since I was 10, I'd dreamed of becoming a doctor. A vow sparked when my grandmother passed away in a hospital where the staff seemed stretched thin and overworked. I swore I'd become a physician who ensured no one felt abandoned or afraid in their final moments. That promise fueled me through years of hard work. 12 years of intense studying, volunteering at pediatric hospitals, shadowing doctors, maintaining a flawless GPA through high school, and navigating 4 years of pre-med at Northwestern led to this moment. A thick envelope from Harvard Medical School rested on my desk, my hands trembling as I opened it. We are delighted to offer you admission to Harvard Medical School's class of 2019. Your academic excellence and dedication to medicine make you an exceptional candidate. I let out a joyous scream and raced downstairs to share the life-changing news with my parents. Mom, Dad, I got in. Harvard Medical School? They were in the kitchen, Dad skimming the Sunday paper over coffee, Mom stacking dishes from the dishwasher in her robe. They glanced up with what I'd call mild curiosity, the kind you'd show for a trivial anecdote. That's nice, honey, Mom said, barely turning from her task. Congratulations, Dad added, giving a curt nod. Nice work. Nice, I stood there, gripping the letter. This is Harvard Medical School. Do you realize what this means? I'm going to be a doctor. I could specialize in pediatric surgery, save kids' lives. I waited for more. A hug, excitement, some acknowledgement that their daughter had achieved something monumental, something that could transform not just my life but the lives of future patients. Instead, they seemed eager for me to leave so they could resume their quiet Sunday routine. The silence grew heavy until my older sister, Mia, shuffled into the kitchen, yawning in her silk pajamas at 11:30 a.m. Early for her on a weekend. What's with all the yelling? She muttered, heading for the coffee pot. Sarah got into medical school, Mom said, her voice suddenly brighter than it had been for my news. Harvard, actually. Cool, Mia replied, not looking up as she stirred sugar into her coffee, scrolling her phone with her free hand. Oh, by the way, I need to talk to you guys. All my friends are going to Lollapalooza this summer, and I have to go too. Just like that, the conversation veered from my Harvard acceptance to Mia's summer plans. Lollapalooza, Dad perked up, showing more interest than he had for my news. That's the big music festival in Chicago, right? Yeah, Mia's face lit up. Billie Eilish is headlining, plus 21 pilots and tons of other amazing bands. My friends have been planning this forever. Mom set her mug down, giving Mia her full attention. How much would that cost? Well, tickets are about $400 each, Mia said. Then there's hotel, food, travel. I've done the math, and I think I could swing the whole trip for maybe $8,000, including some new outfits because I have nothing festival appropriate. I stood there, clutching my acceptance letter, as my parents leaned in, engrossed in Mia's plans. The contrast was jarring, almost dreamlike. $8,000, Dad mused. That's steep, but it sounds like a meaningful experience. You've been struggling lately. Exactly, Mia beamed. I'm so stressed about figuring out my life and my friends are all moving forward. This could help me find some clarity. I cleared my throat. Actually, speaking of plans and costs, I need to talk about Harvard. 3 faces turned to me, mildly irritated by the interruption. The first year will cost about $65,000, I said, trying to match their enthusiasm for Mia's festival. Tuition, housing, books, equipment, lab fees. I'll need around $25,000 up front to secure housing and get started. The mood shifted instantly. Dad's interest faded, and Mom started wiping already clean counters. $25,000, Dad's tone was flat. That's a huge sum, Sarah. I know it seems like a lot, but this is Harvard Medical School. It's an investment in my future. I'll pay you back once I'm a doctor. Physicians earn good salaries. Mom and Dad exchanged one of their silent, married couple glances, the kind I'd seen when I asked for things like new clothes or activity fees. We'll need to think about it, Mom said, her voice neutral. Money's tight with your dad's hours cut at the plant. I understand, I said quickly, not wanting to seem ungrateful. Maybe just the housing deposit now. It's the most urgent. We could figure out monthly payments for the rest. I'm applying for scholarships and looking into work study. We said we'll think about it, Dad said, his tone final, signaling the end of the discussion. Mia, who'd been glued to her phone, suddenly piped up. Oh my gosh, look at this. Taylor posted pics from last year's Lollapalooza. It looks amazing. She thrust her phone at our parents, who crowded around to see. For the next 20 minutes, they discussed festival fashion, which bands Mia was dying to see, and whether she should book a hotel or stay with friends. I quietly excused myself, still holding my letter, and retreated to my room. That week, I threw myself into finding ways to fund medical school. I applied for every scholarship I could find, researched private loans, and calculated how many hours I'd need to work at my clinic job to save enough. The numbers were grim. Even working full-time over the summer, I'd save maybe $4,000.5000. The remaining $20,000 would mean loans with interest rates that would burden me for decades. Meanwhile, Mia's Lollapalooza plans dominated family conversations. She curated Pinterest boards for outfits, mapped out concert schedules, and researched hotels, with my parents eagerly chiming in with suggestions. One evening at dinner, Mom said, "You know, we should make this a real celebration for Mia. Maybe get her some festival clothes, a nice camera to capture it all, maybe even a better hotel." "That's so sweet," Mia gushed. "I found this boutique hotel near Grant Park. It's pricier than hostels, but it'd make the trip so much more comfortable." I pushed my food around, listening as they planned what amounted to a luxury vacation for Mia while my future remained uncertain. A week and a half after my acceptance, my parents called me into the living room. They sat on the couch, faces serious, like when they'd discuss grades or rules. My heart raced, thinking they'd found a way to help, maybe a loan, maybe dipping into savings. "Sarah, we've talked about your Harvard situation," Dad began, his tone stiff. "We've decided we can't help with medical school right now," Mom said quickly, like pulling off a bandage. $25,000 is just too much with everything else going on. The room seemed to spin. I gripped the chair to steady myself. "But this is my future," I said, voice shaking. "This is everything I've worked for." "We know and we're sorry," Dad said, his voice flat. "Maybe you could defer, take a gap year, work, save up. Harvard will still be there." "Medical school doesn't work like that," I said. "If I defer, there's no guarantee they'll hold my spot. The process is insanely competitive. Thousands get rejected every year. This might be my only shot." Mom leaned forward, her face attempting sympathy. "If you're meant to be a doctor, another chance will come. Maybe we'll be in a better financial position then." "What about loans?" I said desperately. "You wouldn't have to pay anything, just costing, and I'll pay it back when I'm working." "We're not comfortable with that kind of debt," Dad said firmly. $25,000 is more than we earn in months. Just then, Mia bounced into the room. "Hey, have you guys decided about Lollapalooza? Tickets are selling out and my friends already have theirs." My parents' faces lit up. "Actually," Mom said, smiling warmly, "we were just talking about that. We think the festival could be great for you." "We'll help with the costs," Dad added, his voice warm in a way it hadn't been for me. "Really?" Mia squealed, clapping. "Oh my gosh, thank you. This is going to be amazing." "It's important for young people to have these experiences," Mom said. "You've been struggling and this could help you find direction." I stared, stunned. "Wait," I said, voice barely audible. "You can't help me with medical school, but you can pay for her music festival." Their enthusiasm faded as they remembered I was there. "It's different," Mom stammered, unable to explain how. "Different how?" "You said $25,000 is too much debt, but $8,000 for a vacation is fine." "Mia's situation is more immediate," Dad said, shifting uncomfortably. "She's struggling and this could help her mental health. And my education doesn't matter for my mental health. My career isn't worth investing in." "Don't be dramatic," Mom snapped. "You're smart. You'll figure it out." Mia, oblivious, was hugging our parents, thanking them profusely. "This is going to be the best summer ever," she said, already back on her phone, likely posting about Lollapalooza. "How?" I asked, voice breaking. "I'm 22 with $4,000 in savings. I need $21,000 more in 4 months. Where am I supposed to get that?" "Loans, work-study, scholarships," Dad said. "Lots of students do it. I've already applied for every scholarship. Work-study won't cover it. Loans have awful rates. I'd be paying them off until I'm 50. "Most doctors have debt," Mom said. "It's part of the deal. So I should drown in debt because you'd rather fund Mia's vacation than my education." "We're not funding a vacation," Dad said. "We're supporting Mia through a tough time." "And what about my tough time?" I'm starting medical school, pursuing a career to save lives. Doesn't that deserve support? Silence fell, except for Mia's tapping on her phone. You don't get it, Sarah, Mom said finally. Mia needs this more. You're strong, independent. You'll find a way. Something inside me shattered. I need support too, I said quietly. I've always needed it, but because I don't demand attention like Mia, you assume I'm fine. That's not true, Dad said, but his voice lacked conviction. It is, I said. When I made honor roll, you said nice and moved on. When Mia passed one class, you took her out to dinner. When I won the science fair, you missed the ceremony for Mia's latest crisis. When I got perfect SATs, you barely mentioned it. I stood, exhausted. I'm going to be a doctor with or without you. But remember this, when your daughter achieved something life-changing, you chose a music festival over her future. Mia looked up. Why are you so dramatic? It's just school. There'll be other chances. I stared at my 22-year-old sister living at home, working part-time retail when she felt like it, chasing social events with no real goals. My parents saw her entertainment as more vital than my life's work. You're right, Mia, I said. It's just school, just honor roll, just volunteering, just Harvard, just everything I've ever cared about. I turned to her. I hope Lollapalooza is everything you want. I hope you remember it forever because it cost more than my parents were willing to give my future. That night, I sat in my room, tears streaming as I researched loans. The interest rates were brutal. I'd graduate with over $100,000 in debt. But as I crunched numbers, my sadness hardened into resolve. If my parents wouldn't back my future, I'd find others who would. The next morning, I called my best friend, Emma, and poured out the story. I can't believe they did that, she said, furious. You've wanted this since we were kids. This is your life's goal. I know, I said. I don't get why they think Mia's festival is more important. What's your plan? Maybe they're right. Maybe I defer work, save up. No way, Emma said fiercely. You're not giving up because your parents have warped priorities. Hold on, I'm talking to my parents. An hour later, Emma called back. My parents want to see you. Come over for dinner. They have an idea. That evening, I sat nervously at Emma's dining table, recounting my situation to Dr. and Mrs. Peterson. Let me get this straight, Dr. Peterson said. You got into Harvard Medical School, need $25,000 to start, and your parents won't help because they're spending $8,000 on your sister's festival trip. I nodded, embarrassed. There's no shame in this, Mrs. Peterson said gently. The shame is your parents. We've watched you grow up, Dr. Peterson said. Your dedication, compassion, your drive to become a doctor. Emma's told us about your volunteer work, your grades, your focus. You're the kind of person who should be a doctor. Thank you, I whispered. Here's our proposal, Mrs. Peterson said. We want to invest in you. I looked up, stunned. We'll loan you the $25,000, doctor. Peterson said, not charity, an investment. We'll draw up a formal agreement with fair interest rates, better than any bank. You can pay us back once you're established. Tears welled up. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking, Mrs. Peterson said, smiling. We're offering, we believe in you. Why? I asked. Why invest in me when my own parents woe? Because we see your potential, Dr. Peterson said. Helping young people chase their dreams is one of the best things we can do. Your $25,000 will return 1,000-fold through the lives you'll save as a doctor. I went home with a signed loan agreement and a check for Harvard's expenses, and something more. The realization that some adults saw my worth and were willing to back it. I didn't tell my parents about the Petersons' loan right away. Instead, I observed our family dynamics with new clarity. Mia obsessed over festival outfits, hotels, and schedules, with my parents fully invested in every detail. They drove her to stores, researched Chicago hotspots, and gushed over her plans. My Harvard acceptance, barely mentioned. When relatives called to congratulate me, my parents' responses were lukewarm, like, yeah, Sarah got into some medical school. A week later at dinner, I shared my news. I've secured funding for Harvard, I said. I'm starting in the fall. Dad raised his eyebrows. You got a scholarship. No, Emma's family loaned me the money. The room grew cold. You went behind our backs to borrow from neighbors, Mom snapped. I went to people who believed in my future when my family didn't, I said. You made your priorities clear. $25,000 for my education was too much, but $8,000 for Mia's vacation was fine. Why are you such a drama queen? Mia said, scrolling Instagram. It's just money, just school. There are plenty of doctors already. I stared, amazed at her obliviousness. You're right, I said. It's just money $8,000 for your weekend while I work 3 jobs in medical school to pay back a loan that shouldn't have been necessary. The Petersons are rich, Mom said. $25,000 is nothing to them. It's not about their money, I said. It's about their values. They saw my potential and chose to support it. You saw it and ignored it. I stood, appetite gone. When I'm a doctor, saving lives, remember this. You had a chance to support something meaningful and chose festival tickets instead. The next morning, I began packing for Harvard. With 3 months to prepare, I was determined to seize this opportunity. Emma helped me sort through my things, deciding what to take to Boston. Nervous, she asked. Terrified, I admitted, but thrilled. This is my dream. Your parents are clueless, she said. I hope you see that. I'm starting to. As I prepped for the biggest transition of my life, my parents fixated on Mia's festival plans, helping with outfits and itineraries while I handled housing, classes, textbooks, and travel alone. When I asked for help with practicalities like banking or insurance, they acted inconvenienced. The night before I left, they were in the living room with Mia, browsing festival photos. I'm leaving early tomorrow, I said from the doorway. Drive safe, Mom said, eyes on the screen. Call when you get there, Dad added distractedly. That was it, no heartfelt goodbye, no pride, no recognition that I was leaving to chase my dreams. At dawn, as I loaded my car, Emma and her parents appeared in their pajamas. We couldn't let you leave without a real send-off, Mrs. Peterson said, hugging me. Make us proud, Dr. Peterson said. I know you will. Emma gave me a care package with cookies, tea, and a photo of us at graduation. Text me daily, she said. I want all the details. Surrounded by people who cared more than my own family, I felt a bittersweet mix of gratitude and sorrow. Driving to Boston, I reflected on my parents' choice. Temporary fun over lasting achievement, entertainment over education, Mia's instant gratification over my lifelong goal. It was a choice that would shape our relationship forever. Harvard was everything I'd hoped. Grueling, competitive, relentless, but exactly where I belonged. I worked 3 jobs, tutoring pre-med students, night shifts at a medical supply company, and weekend data entry for research labs. My days began at 5 a.m. and ended past midnight. No social life, no relaxation, just study and work, but I was living my dream. Social media showed me what my family was up to. Mia's Lollapalooza posts flooded my feed, designer outfits, fancy Chicago dinners, hotel pool photos. My parents liked and commented, gushing about her amazing adventure. They never engaged with my posts about medical school, clinical rotations, or volunteering at Boston Children's Hospital. I'm not even sure they followed me. By the end of my first year, I'd made the dean's list and joined a competitive research program. When I called home, the conversation lasted 5 minutes. That's great, Mom said. How are your grades? I just said I made the dean's list, top 10% of my class. Oh, nice. Hold on, Mia wants to tell you about her new job. Mia had landed a part-time retail job at a boutique, working when she felt like it. My parents were more excited about that than my Harvard achievements. I called home less often. By my second year, our talks were brief and strained. I was too busy with classes, rotations, research, and jobs, learning to diagnose, interpret labs, and work with patients. In my third year, I found my passion in pediatric surgery. Working with brave kids and their families felt like my true calling. Cardiac surgery, fixing children's hearts, became my goal, a challenging path requiring years of training, but I knew it was mine. By my 4th year, top residency programs recruited me. My research was published, my evaluations glowed, and my professors wrote stellar letters. When I matched into Northwestern Memorial Hospital's surgical residency, one of the nation's best, I called home. Chicago, Mom said. That's nice, you'll be closer. It's a huge deal, I said. Northwestern's program is world-class, incredibly competitive. That's wonderful, Dad said, but their voices lacked warmth. Meanwhile, Mia's engagement to her bar-met boyfriend of 6 months had them ecstatic, planning a lavish wedding. At graduation, my parents attended but seemed eager to leave. Emma and her parents flew in, bringing flowers and celebrating like it was their own milestone. At dinner, Mrs. Peterson toasted, "To Dr. Sarah Williams." My parents smiled politely, not grasping the magnitude. "What's next?" Dad asked. "More school?" "Residency," I said. 5 years of surgical training, then maybe a pediatric cardiac fellowship. More training, Mom sighed. When do you actually work? They saw my career as endless hurdles, not a path to saving lives. Residency was brutal, 80 100-hour weeks, call every few nights, learning to operate under pressure. But every day, I remembered why I was there and who'd made it possible. I paid the Petersons back early, despite their protests, working tirelessly to become the doctor I'd always envisioned, proving that potential, not just privilege, could shape a future.